Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're doing well this morning. Good to see all you fine folks. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Oh, yes, Eris. Hey, Cynthia, retired firefighter number 42. Hello, how are you? Good. Gosh almighty. Hey, it's good to see you, Eris. Leonie Brown, how you doing? Oh, man. Mary Waltz. Leon, yes, dum, yeah. Hey, Captain Kern. How you doing this morning? I hope some people went by and subbed to this young man right here. Show him a little bit of love. Make sure that he feels welcome. It's he did a neat little show yesterday. I was was tied up. No, physically tied up. No, I'm just kidding. I was not tied up. No, I just had a busy day yesterday. But yeah, Mary Waltz, good to see you. JD fan. Hey, Cap. Yes. Where Ulcie, how you doing? How you doing? Hello, no man. Welcome from Australia. 6:30. Nice. Woohoo. Working on an AI model to search out the dumbest news headlines from across the planet. Learning AI is fun. It is. Mm. Oh my, oh my. Melanie, good to see you. Good to see you. Oh my, geez, Bodacia, sorry. Hey JW, hey y'all. Oh man, we got some really cool. We got a really cool story for you guys this morning. It's really gonna get you. Good morning, Ingrid. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Megan. How are you doing this morning? I hope you got a little bit of relaxation in yesterday. I know I did. See, normally I don't do gaming streams, and whenever I do gaming streams, I usually will do something that's that audience can join in on. Um, and if you guys are interested in that, I can always do some more of those. Maybe fix those in like in a midweek kind of thing, something like a Wednesday. Um, I've got some games that you can have like a panel with, which are pretty cool. And it gets completely degenerate and gets you in all kinds of trouble. But they're usually pretty fun. It definitely will put some smiles on your face if you ever are interested. Uh, I think I may start scheduling those for Wednesday, just to break away from all the news and the crazy stuff, and we can make some fun and have a good time. Hello, Melanie. Good to see you. T Underwood. Top of the morning to y'all. Hey, Lexi. It's been a while. Been a while since I've seen you. Hope you're doing well this morning. Oh yes, yes, Rousey. The young man. You're buttering me up. Hey guys, right? Good morning, Queensland, Australia. That's so cool. Uh, Ganeto. Oh gosh, jeez, man, just slap me around. Gone to the dogs. Not many here from Australia. We'll spread the word. Oh, you got quite a few from Australia. Believe it or not, there's quite a few. Shizzy said dodo, or did I say doo doo? Did. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. And then let me know about the gaming panel. Very interested. The more degenerate, the better. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll definitely reach out, let you know, because those get, oh, they get so crazy. Um, and usually you can get a few people. Um, it will require a split screen. So if you're trying to play it like on a cell phone, it's really hard to do. But doing it on a split screen, you can actually do quite a bit. Why is my camera so funky looking? Let me see if I've got something weird going on. Oh, that's why. Let's fix that. I had this touch up my appearance on there. I was like, why do I look all blurry and unattractive? It's like I'm melting. I'm melting. Traveling fools. Yo, 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 yo. What's up, brother? What is up? How are you and your lovely wife doing? Hope you're doing good. What is it? Drop that bass. Oh, yeah. Well, shite. No, it's the gaming stuff is pretty cool. You know, you end up with a large group of people. Chat can jump in, then you can vote on stuff. You've got yeah, we do some like Jackbox games and stuff like that. They're an absolute blast. And you know you can make references to pop culture. And really it just it if you do it right, you can have a lot of fun. Everybody has a good time. Um, and nothing like traveling fools with his trivia. You know, he makes you think. Got to finish tearing down your back porch today and rebuilding. Oh, no fun, brother. No fun. Yeah, we've got. I've got the the shed done for the wife. I've got a table that I'm finishing. Doing. I've finished the epoxy on it. Now all I've got to do is get the whole thing completely sanded out, throw some spar urethane on it, and then do the base of it. So the top is done. The base of it still needs to be done. It's looking really good. I did some what do you call it? Some burled maple that I had left over from some nightstands that I built. So I've got these strips of burl maple that go in some in the slots in between, and yeah, it looks just really nice. Added a little bit of black tint to it, so that burling really sticks out. Pretty cool. Yes, one day soon, once my eyes get fixed, I'll be back to gaming again. Yeah, the and the stuff I do, it's not really fast paced moving game. It's more typing, so you have to do a little bit more typing. That's why it's really difficult to do on like a on a like an iPhone or something like that. But the games are hilarious because you can reference pop culture. Um, and maybe one morning I'll pull one of them up for you guys to see. Um, yeah, they definitely keep you entertained for a little bit. Um, Stupid me, I was working on dresser and kicked over a whole gallon of stain. Oh man. I will be listening. Loving you, bro. Thanks, man. Thanks. I love you, man. I love you too, man. Love you too. You have a wonderful one. Traveling Fools is 9 hours of Fallout 4. Awesome. Awesome. Traveling Fools, you're dead to me. Love you right back, my friend. Inverell, had odd schooner there. I don't know. But what we got is got some interesting news, and I'm gonna probably cover this a little bit more before I cover something else. Um, and it's just because I found it really interesting. This this story came out this morning. Whenever I saw it, I was like, "What the hell is this?" And what were they talking about? So, an NPR editor who wrote a critical essay on the company has resigned after being suspended. And so I'll dig a little bit more into this today because I found it pretty interesting. So this guy Yuri what is it? Yuri Berliner, I believe is what his name is, a senior editor at NPR Business Desk, posted his resignation letter on X, formerly Twitter. Of course, they couldn't say letter on X. A day after it was revealed he had been suspended for 5 days for violating company rules about outside work done without permission. And he said, I cannot work in a newsroom where I'm disparaged by a CEO whose divisive views confirm the very problems written about in his essay. Berliner said in his resignation letter, a former tech executive appointed to January's NPR chief executive has been criticized by conservative activists for social media messages that disparage Donald Trump. The messages predated her hiring at NPR. And so what does Catherine Maurer have to do with this? NPR's public relations chief said the organization does not comment on individual personal matters. Suspension and subsequent resignation highlight the delicate balance that many U.S. news organizations and their editorial employees face. On one hand, as journalists striving to produce unbiased news, they are not supposed to comment on contentious public issues. On the other, many journalists consider it their duty to critique their own organization's approaches to journalism when needed. So what exactly are they talking about on this? Well, hmm, what it was is NPR suspended this guy who wrote an essay, and they just say a veteran editor who wrote an outside essay criticizing his employer for, in his view, journalism that reflects a liberal viewpoint with little tolerance for contrary opinions. Senior editor Yuri Berliner was suspended 5 days without pay, according to an article posted Tuesday by NPR's media correspondent David Folkenflick. What a horrible name. He wrote that Berliner was told he violated the company's policy that it must approve work done for outside news organizations. Well, screw you. Berliner told NPR that he was not appealing the suspension. NPR spokeswoman said the company would not comment on individual personal matters. Well, you already did. He wrote his essay last week for the Free Press. Berliner wrote the NPR as always a liberal bent, but for most of his 25-year tenure, he had an open mind, curious culture. And I'm just like, okay, so what exactly was it that he did? And so, we get this. Let's just read his thing. What Berliner had to say. He says he's been at NPR for 25 years. Here is how we lost America's trust. What is that? She's the chick that criticized Hillary for using the terms boys and girls. Oh, okay. Okay. No comment because you're no comment because you're wrong, NPR. Exactly. JD fan didn't think about that, man. I'm sure it was costly. Oof. Yeah. So here's what he says. And this is what got him a suspension. Says, the stereotype of the NPR listener, an EV driving, Wordle playing, tote bag carrying coastal elite. It doesn't precisely describe me, but it's not far off. I'm Sarah Lawrence, educated. I was raised by a lesbian peace activist mother. I drive a Subaru and Spotify. It says my listening habits are mostly similar to people in Berkeley. I fit the NPR mold. I'll cop to that. So when I got a job here 25 years ago, I never looked back. As a senior editor on the business desk where news is always breaking, we've covered upheavals in the workplace, supermarket prices, social media, and AI. It's true NPR has always had a liberal bent, but during most of my tenure here, an open-minded, curious culture prevailed. We were nerdy, but not knee-jerk activist or scolding. In recent years, however, that has changed. Today, those who listen to NPR, reading it or read its coverage online, find something different, the distilled worldview of a very small segment of the U.S. population. If you are conservative, you will read this and say, duh, it's always been this way. But he says it hasn't. For decades, since its founding in 1970, a wide swath of America tuned in to NPR for reliable journalism and gorgeous audio pieces with birds singing in the Amazon. Millions came to us for conversations that exposed us to voices around the country in a world radically different from our own, engaging precisely because they were unguarded and unpredictable. No image generated more pride within NPR than the farmer listening to Morning Edition from his or her tractor at sunrise. No, he's just blind to the fact that NPR has always been this way. Back in 2011, although NPR's audience tilted bit to the left, okay, it still bore a resemblance to America at large. No, not really. 26% of listeners describe themselves as conservatives. Now, maybe rhinos. 23% as middle of the road, and 37% as liberal. Not really true. By 2023, the picture was completely different. Only 11% described themselves as very or somewhat conservative. 21% as middle of the road, and 67% of the listeners said they were very or somewhat liberal. We weren't just losing conservatives, you were losing moderates and traditional liberals. Well, that was because liberals used to consider themselves like conservative, but it's gone far beyond that. Good morning, Debbie Morin. Good to see you. Good to see you. Headed to Home Depot. Love y'all. Good to see you, man. So, an open minded spirit no longer exists within NPR, and now, predictably, we don't have an audience that reflects America. That wouldn't be a problem for an openly problematic news outlet serving a niche audience, but for NPR, which purports to consider all things, it's devastating both for its journalism and its business model. Like many unfortunate things, the rise of advocacy took off with Donald Trump, as in many newsrooms, his election in 2016 was greeted at NPR with a mixture of disbelief, anger, and despair. Just a note, I eagerly voted against Trump twice, but felt we were obliged to cover him fairly. But what began as a tough, straightforward coverage of a belligerent, truth impaired president veered towards efforts to damage or topple Trump's presidency. Persistent rumors that Trump campaign colluded with Russia over the election became the catnip that drove reporting. At NPR, we hitched our wagon to Trump's most visible antagonist, Representative Adam Schiff. Schiff, who was the top Democrat in the House Intelligence Committee, became NPR's guiding hand, its ever-present muse. By my count, NPR interviewed Schiff 25 times about Trump and Russia. During many of those conversations, Schiff alluded to purported evidence of collusion. The Schiff talking points became the drumbeat of NPR news reports, but when the Mueller report found no credible evidence of collusion, NPR's coverage was notably sparse. Russiagate quietly faded from our programming. It's one thing to swing and miss on a major story. Unfortunately, it happens. You follow the wrong leads, you get misled by sources you trusted, you are emotionally invested in a narrative, and bits of circumstantial evidence never add up. It's a big, bad blow to a big story. What's worse is to pretend it never happened, to move on with no mea culpa, no self-reflections, especially when you expect high standards of transparency from public figures and institutions, but don't practice those standards yourself. That's what shatters trust and engenders cynicism about the media. Russiagate was not NPR's only miscue. In October 2020, the New York Post published an explosive report about the laptop Hunter Biden abandoned in a Delaware computer shop containing emails about his sordid business dealings. With the election only weeks away, NPR turned a blind eye. Here's how NPR's managing editor for news at the time explained the thinking. We don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories, and we don't want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. Now, here's the thing. It wasn't a pure distraction or product of Russian disinformation, as dozens of former and current intelligence officials suggested. The laptop did belong to... What was that? Shit. Shizstummer service, please. Oh my. Yeah. Well, you take care, Megan. We'll see you soon. Window is closed, Karen. Let's go. I would like to lodge 2 planes. Shizstummer service, please. Good luck on that. Sorry about that. The laptop did belong to Hunter Biden. Its contents revealed its connection to the corrupt world of multi-million-dollar influence peddling and its possible implications for his father. The laptop, it was newsworthy. But the timeless journalistic instinct of following a hot lead story was being squelched. During a meeting with colleagues, I listened as one of NPR's best and most fair-minded journalists said it was good we weren't following the laptop story because it could help Trump. When the essential facts of Post reporting were confirmed and the emails verified independently about a year and a half later, we could have fessed up to our misjudgment. But like the Russian collusion, we didn't make the hard choice of transparency. Politics also intruded into NPR's coverage, most notably in reporting on the origin of the pandemic. One of the most dismal aspects of the COOF journalism is how quickly it defaulted to ideological storylines. For example, there was Team Natural Origin, supporting the hypothesis that the virus came from a wild animal market in Wuhan, China. And on the other side, Team Lab Leak, leaning into the idea that the virus escaped from a Wuhan lab. The lab leak theory came in for rough treatment, almost immediately dismissed as racist or right-wing conspiracy theory. Anthony Fauci and former NIH head Francis Collins, representing the public health establishment, were most notable critics. Oh, and shit, that was enough for NPR. We became fervent members of Team Natural Origin, even declaring that the lab leak had been debunked by scientists. But this wasn't the case. Of course, when the word first broke of a mysterious virus in Wuhan, a number of leading virologists immediately suspected it could have leaked from a lab there conducting experiments on bat coronaviruses. Well, and this was in January of 2020. Yes, I remember hearing about this and actually reading about it during calmer moments before a global pandemic had been declared and before fear spread and politics intruded. Of course, reporting on a possible lab leak came radioactive. Fauci and Collins apparently encouraged the March publication of an influential scientific paper known as The Proximal Origin of SARS-CoV-2. Its authors wrote they didn't believe any type of lab-based scenario is even plausible. But the lab leak hypothesis wouldn't die, and understandably so. In private, even some of the scientists who penned the article dismissing it sounded a different tune. One of the authors, Andrew Rambod, an evolutionary biologist from Edinburgh University, wrote to his colleagues, I literally swivel day by day thinking it's a lab escape or natural. Over the course of the pandemic, a number of investigative journalists made compelling, if not conclusive, cases for the lab leak, but at NPR, we weren't about to swivel or even tiptoe away from the insistence with which we backed the natural origin story. We didn't even budge when the Energy Department, a federal agency with the most expertise about laboratories and biological research, concluded, albeit with low confidence, that the lab leak was the most likely explanation for the emergence of the virus. Instead, we introduced our coverage for that development on February 28th, 2023 by asserting confidently that the scientific evidence overwhelmingly points to the natural origin of the virus. When a colleague on our science desk was asked why they were so dismissive of the lab leak theory, the response was odd. The colleague compared it to the Bush administration's unfounded argument that Iraq possessed weapons of mass destruction, apparently meaning we won't get fooled again. But these two events were not even remotely related, and again, politics were blotting out the curiosity and independence that ought to have been driving our work. I'm offering 3 examples of widely followed stories where I believe we faltered. Our coverage is out there in the public domain. Anyone can read or listen for themselves and make their own judgment, but to truly understand how independent journalism suffered at NPR, you need to step inside the organization. You start with the former CEO, John Lansing. Lansing came to NPR in 2019 from the federally funded agency that oversees Voice of America. Like others who have served in the top job at NPR, he was hired primarily to raise money and ensure good working relations with the hundreds of member stations that acquire NPR's programming. What do we got here? Y'all kept me up way too late last night. Yeah. 2, more of a question. If you wanted to test all the covered features of an iPhone, which would you try first? I'm thinking of waterproofing, but open to suggestions. I don't know. That autocorrect on my phone has gone completely rogue. I can't get a sentence out anymore. The phone needs to be replaced. Note it was made for lab vaccine research, which the codes speak for a gain of function, which means bioweapon. The scientists in China who admitted it, sort of disappeared. Good morning, Joyful Joy. Good to see you. Yes. The chances of 2 different species of bat getting together and planning the downfall of humankind sound solid, especially whenever those bats aren't even from that region. I yelled at these Apple senior tech people for hours yesterday with a screen share, and they're like, nah, you must have a problem, even though they can see the keystrokes. Yeah, those are horrible. Yeah, we were told, okay, we're marketing alone, freaking liars should have been prosecuted. Every single one of them. I hear that if the operator bangs their head against the wall, tactile function might return. Damn it. I need to read those before I pull them up. Military tribunals are indicated. Shit, you had fun watching you play last night and got to make idiot comments. Oh, you can always make idiot comments anytime you want to. Yes, I had a fun time too. Like I said, I think Wednesdays I'll start doing. I might just do a random game stream. Maybe some that people can join in with. Just try to break the seriousness of everything for a couple of hours. Autocorrect you have reconfigure it in settings. Have fun. have it type everything in Arabic. That would be funny. Sorry. Oh God. So after working behind the scenes, Lansing became more visible and a forceful figure after the George Floyd incident in 2020. It was an anguishing time in the newsroom, personally and professionally. So for NPR staffers, Floyd's murder captured on video changed both the conversation and the daily operations at NPR. Given the circumstances of Floyd's death, it would have been an ideal moment to tackle a difficult question. Is America, as progressive activists claim, beset by a systematic racism in the 2020s in law enforcement, education, housing, and elsewhere? We happen to have a very powerful tool for answering such questions: journalism. Journalism that lets evidence lead the way, but the message from the top was very different. America's infestation with systematic racism was declared loud and clear. It was a given. Our mission was to change it. When it comes to identifying and ending systematic racism, Lansing wrote in a company-wide article, we can be agents of change. Listening and deep reflection are necessary, but not enough. They must be followed by a constructive and meaningful step forward. I will hold myself accountable for this. And we were told that NPR itself was part of the problem. In confessional language, he said the leaders of a public media, starting with me, must be aware of how we ourselves have benefited from white privilege in our careers. We must understand that unconscious bias we bring to our work and interactions, and we must commit ourselves, body and soul, to profound changes in ourselves and our institutions. So he declared that diversity on our staff and in our audience was the overriding mission, the North Star of the organization. Phrases like "that's part of the North Star" became part of meetings and more casual conversation. Of course, this made race and identity become paramount in nearly every aspect of the workplace. Journalists were required to ask everyone we interviewed their race, their gender, their ethnicity, among other questions, and had to enter it in a centralized tracking system. We were given unconscious bias training sessions. A growing DEI staff offered regular meetings imploring us to who to start talking to about race. Monthly dialogues were offered for women of color and men of color. Non-binary people of color, of course, were included too. These initiatives, bolstered by a $1 million grant from the NPR Foundation, came from management from the top down. Crucially, they were in sync culturally in what was happening at the grassroots among producers, reporters, and other staffers. Most visibly was a burgeoning number of employee resource or affinity groups based on identity. They included the Marginalized Genders of Intersex People of Color Mentorship Program, the Latinx employees at NPR Noir, Black employees at NPR Southwest Asians and North Africans at NPR Yuma for Muslim identifying employees, women, gender extensive, gender transgender people with technology through public media, Jewish heritage and culture at NPR, and the NPR Pride, LGBTQA, PQRSIYT employees at NPR. All this reflected a broader movement in the culture of people clustering together based on ideology for a characteristic of birth. If, as NPR's internal website suggested, the groups were simply a great way to meet like minded colleagues and help new employees feel included, it would have been one thing. But the role of standing affinity groups, including some of those outside NPR, were more than that. They became a priority for NPR's union, the SAG-AFTRA, an item in collective bargaining. The current contract, a section in DEI, requires NPR management to keep up to date with current language and style guidance from journalism affinity groups, and to inform employees if language differs from dictates of those groups. In such a case, the dispute could go before the DEI Accountability Committee. In essence, this means NPR Union, of which I'm a dues-paying member, has ensured that advocacy groups are given a seat at the table in determining the terms and vocabulary of our news coverage. Well, conflicts between workers and bosses, between labor and management, are common in workplaces. NPR has had its share, but what's notable is the extent to which people at every level of NPR have comfortably coalesced around progressive worldview. And this, I believe, is the most damaging development at NPR, the absence of viewpoint diversity. There is an unspoken consensus about the stories we should pursue and how they should be framed. It's frictionless. One story after another about instances of supposed racism, transphobia, signs of the climate apocalypse, Israel doing something bad, the dire threat of Republican policies. It's almost like an assembly line. The mindset prevails in choices about language. In an NPR document called NPR Transgender Coverage Guidance, disseminated by news management, we were asked to avoid the word or the term biological sex. The editorial guidance was prepared with the help of a former staffer of the National Center for Transgender and Equality. The mindset animates bizarre stories on how the Beatles and the bird names are racially problematic, and others that are alarmingly divisive, justifying looting with claims that fears about crime are racist, and suggesting that Asian Americans who oppose affirmative action have been manipulated by white conservatives. It's really weird that I'm reading this because I'm surprised they haven't removed me from from the whole Twitter thing. More recently, we have approached the Israel-Hamas war and its spill over onto the streets and campuses through the intersectional lens that has jumped from the faculty lounge to newsrooms. Oppressor versus oppressed. That meant highlighting the suffering of Palestinians at almost every turn while downplaying the atrocities of October 7th, overlooking how Hamas intentionally put Palestinian civilians in peril, and giving little weight to the explosion of anti-Semitic hate around the world. For nearly all my career, working at NPR has been a source of great pride. It's a privilege to work in the newsroom at a crown jewel of American journalism. My colleagues are congenial and hardworking. I can't count the number of times I would meet someone, describe what I do, and they'd say, "Oh, I love NPR." And they wouldn't stop there. They would mention their favorite host or one of those driveway moments where a story was so good you'd stay in your car until it finished. It still happens. But often now the trajectory of the conversation is different. After the initial "I love NPR," there's a pause, and the person will acknowledge, "I don't listen as much as I used to," or with some chagrin, "What's happening there? Why is NPR telling me what to think?" In recent years, I've struggled to answer that question. Concerned by the lack of viewpoint diversity, I look at voter registration for our newsroom. In D.C., where NPR is headquartered and many of us live, I found 87 registered Democrats working in editorial positions, 0 Republicans, none. So on May 3rd, 2021, I presented the findings at an all-hands editorial staff meeting when I suggested we had a diversity problem with a score of 87 Democrats and 0 Republicans. Well, their response wasn't hostile. It was worse. It was met with profound indifference. I got a few messages from surprised, curious colleagues, but the messages were of, "Oh, wow, that's weird. Variety, as if the lopsided tally was a random anomaly rather than a critical failure of our diversity North Star. In a follow-up email exchange, a top NPR news executive told me that she had been skewered for bringing up diversity of thought when she arrived at NPR. So she said, I want to be careful how we discuss this publicly. For years, I have been persistent. When I believe our coverage has gone off the rails, I've written regular emails to top leaders, sometimes even having one-on-one sessions with them. On March 10th, 2022, I wrote to a top news executive about the numerous times we described the controversial education bill in Florida as the Don't Say Gay bill when it doesn't even use the word gay. I pushed to set the record straight and wrote another time to ask why we keep using that word that many Hispanics absolutely despise and hate, Latinx. On March 31st, 2022, I was invited to a manager's meeting to present my observations. Throughout these exchanges, no one ever over-trashed me. That's not the NPR way. People are polite, but of course, nothing changes. So I've become a visible wrong thinker at a place I love. It's uncomfortable, and it's sometimes heartbreaking. Even so, out of frustration, on November 6, 2022, I wrote to the captain of the ship North Star CEO John Lansing about the lack of viewpoint diversity and asked if we could have a conversation about it. And of course, I got no response, so I followed up 4 days later. And he said he would appreciate hearing my perspective and copied his assistant to set up a meeting. On December 15th, the morning of the meeting, Lansing's assistant wrote back to cancel our conversation because he was under the weather. He said he was looking forward to chatting and a new meeting invitation would be sent, but, well, it never came. Well, I won't speculate about why our meeting never happened. Being CEO of NPR is a demanding job with lots of constituents and headaches to deal with, but what's indisputable is that no one in a C-suite or upper management position has chosen to deal with the lack of viewpoint diversity at NPR and how that affects our journalism, which is a shame. Because for all the emphasis on our North Star, NPR's news audience in recent years has become less diverse, not more so. Back in 2011, our audience leaned a bit to the left, but roughly reflected America politically. Now the audience is cramped into smaller, progressive silo. Let's see what we got going on this morning. Let's see if I missed anything. But you don't ask a liberal. The definition is odd. Morning, all. Good to see you, Audio Coffee. Good to see you. And of course, I spent some time looking at NPR website, looking for the record of Dr. Fauci interview where he giggles and brags about being groomed by Jesuits from a young age like he's something special. Okay. But usually after looking at on Google, your version is very, very close. And then there's the disappeared gnome, Chomsky democracy, how interviews from the fall of 2020, they're disappearing the record and flip-flopping manipulation. Yes. Morning, Shizzy. Did you hear in Canada they arrested a bunch of men who stole $20 million in gold? Yes, I did. I did read about that. Good morning, Squid Pro Quo. How are you doing? Good morning, all who wake up late for me. Oh. Choosy Heretic, choose Carnation Revolution now. Good morning, Squid. Yes. And this is what he's talking about. He said it used to not be like that, but it's turned more like that. Oh, I found the definition. Dictionary says non-binary. Good morning, Christine. How are you doing this morning? Oh, better late than never. I love it. Captain Kurtz, exactly. So despite all the resources we've devoted to building up our news audience among blacks and Hispanics, the numbers have barely budged. And in 2023, according to our demographic research, 6% of our news audience was black. Wow. Far short of the overall U.S. population, which 14.4% black and Hispanics were only 7% compared to the overall Hispanic population, around 19%. Our news audience doesn't come close to reflecting America. It's overwhelmingly white and progressive and clustered around coastal cities and college towns. Of course, these are perilous times for news organizations, which it doesn't have to be. NPR laid off or bought out 10% of its staff, canceled 4 podcasts following a slump in advertising revenue. Our radio audience is dwindling, and our podcast downloads are down from 2020. This is why my wife keeps getting those damn letters from NPR saying, donate to us. I told her if she donates to it, I'd divorce her. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't divorce my wife over something that stupid, but it is funny to laugh at her. The digital stories on our website rarely have national impact. They aren't conversation starters. Our competitive advantage in audio, where for years NPR had no peer, is vanishing. There are plenty of informative and entertaining podcasts to choose from, and they're not NPR. Even within our diminished audience, there's evidence of trouble at the most basic level, trust. Well, in February, our Audience Insights team sent an email proudly announcing that we had a higher trustworthy score than CNN or the New York Times. Well, that's not saying much. But the research from Harris Poll is hardly reassuring. It found that 3 in 10 audience members familiar with NPR said they associate NPR with a characteristic trustworthy. Only in a world where media credibility is completely imploded would 3 in 1 trustworthy score be something to boast about. With declining ratings, sorry levels of trust, and an audience that has become less diverse over time, the trajectory for NPR is not promising. 2 paths seem clear. Well, they can keep sucking up like they're doing, or hoping it'll all work out. Yeah, they'll be sucking at the government teat. Or we could just start over with the basic building blocks of journalism. We could face up to where we've gone wrong. News organizations don't go in for that kind of reckoning. But there's a good reason for NPR to be the first. We're the ones with the word public in our name. Despite our missteps at NPR, defunding isn't the answer. As the country becomes more fractured, there's still a need for public institution where stories are told and viewpoints exchanged in good faith. Defunding, as a rebuke from Congress, wouldn't change the journalism at NPR. That needs to come from within. No, it should be defunded, completely defunded, and removed until they can get their head out of their ass. A few weeks ago, NPR welcomed a new CEO, Catherine Maurer, who's been a leader in tech. She doesn't have a news background, which could be an asset given where things stand. I'll be rooting for her. It's a tough job. Her first rule could be simple enough. Don't tell people how to think. It could even be the new North Star. And Yuri Berlanger was a senior business editor and a reporter at NPR. His work has been recognized with a Peabody Award, a Loeb Award, an Edward R. Murrow Award, and a Society of Professional Journalists New America Award, among others. And you can follow him at X. And there you go. That's the story. Yeah, LC has a higher trustworthy score. That is damn true. NPR eats the yellow and brown snow. Mm-hmm. Hey, Jude, I see ya. My voice is easy on the ears. Well, thank you. Thank you. I've had it for quite some time. Yeah, I miss Paul Harvey, Baxter Black, Rush, OGs like them. Absolutely. That's the good morning, Kay Marshall. Nope, she's awful. They will only continue to decline. Well, and so after that story, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab myself some coffee. So you know what that means. It is time to give you guys a little bit of the yellow snow, as we like to say. As we like to say over here, we are going to go get some more coffee, and I will be right back. But in the meantime, you get to enjoy a little bit of this. Here we go. shower. Well, just everybody else in chat. You saw what happened. Gonna go work at 9 to judge some quarterfinal athletes. Well, have a good time. Have a good time. We'll see you soon. We will most definitely see you very soon. Here we go. So, this is what Barry Weiss had to say about all of this.
Everyone knew that NPR had a liberal bent. It was like saying these days, like Fox has a conservative bent. That was obvious to anyone. But you argue that
the only thing is Fox has more of a rhino bent. I don't trust Fox.
It's really gone from having a liberal bent or a liberal shading to really a bias. Here's one.
Like Barry Weiss is unbiased. She's pretty damn biased also. Who are those lonely Eleanor Rigby donating to NPR and questionable wildlife charities? Yeah, that's that. I really got a bad case of Eleanor Rigby after when I hear about people donating to that place. Yeah. I really look forward to The Voice. Wrong. Fox has attention whore bent. Exactly. I trust no mainstream media these days. Exactly. I don't trust Fox either. And that's where people get so screwed on this. I hope your air conditioner works today. Mother Nature forgot to turn the heat off. I don't know. This morning the heat was actually on in the house. We had a cool night last night.
One thing you write in your essay. You write, for the majority of your time at NPR, despite the liberal bend, an open-minded, curious culture prevailed. We were nerdy, but not knee-jerk, activist, or scolding.
Yeah, you were.
Ori, when did that start to change? When did the thing that everyone sort of recognized as
did you not
sort
read
of a
the
liberal
story,
bias
Barry?
start to shift into something
If you
harder
had
than
not
that?
read it.
Into what
She
you
didn't
call
read it.
a knee-jerk, activist, and even scolding quality.
Barry, you're an idiot.
Well, I think it was cumulative. I don't think it was one event. I mean, I think.
Oh, he's just opining. So this is Barry Weiss or Uri Berliner. Barry Weiss and Urliner. It's supposed to be 90 here today. What? No, see that is a misclaimer right there. I disagree with that. Everyone says, oh, they're just boomer. No. They don't. No. Not at all. I have to disagree with this, and I'll tell you why. I think because you're going to find a lot of the boomers more on the conservative leaning side. Not all of them, but you're going to find quite a few of them that are looking at their savings, their children, blah blah blah, and they're looking to get away from the CNN attitude of calling everybody racist, misogynistic, wrong think, no different than what they had at NPR. What's going on there? Diversity, DEI, that's all rolled in there. But they're whenever they're looking at Fox, they're like, oh, these are people that are more concerned about the older generation and caring about them. Doesn't mean that they're following that particular think, especially when they see how Fox is no different than any of the other ones. They get turned off by it really quick, which then they look for a new outlet of things to watch, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. Fox News doesn't add up whenever they're calling part of an election before even 1/10 of the votes are in. Whenever their reporting is wrong and has been wrong, whenever they have people like Sean Hannity that are, just as wishy-washy as a 1960s washing machine, about as reliable as a 1950s stove. It's conservative people. For conservative people, Fox have better hokies than CNN, or some. Yeah, he looks like the man who did the voice of Winnie the Pooh. It's the nice thing about growing up in Alaska, North Dakota, Washington, the UK, and then moving to Georgia under 60 in the house doesn't bother me. Saves on the bill. Ooh, and I hate it. If I remember correctly, he looks like the man who did the voice of it. That's right. That's right. I get all my news from The Simpsons on Fox. Alabama Rose. Oh my gosh. I never get to see you, so it's awesome to see you. It is so awesome to see you too. I hope you're doing well. I hope things are doing much better for you. Their poverty, forced retirement, older bodies get sick. Yeah. I'm throwing the phone in the river. Well, just make sure that nobody's drowning before you do that. I have to call 911. You're going to have to lose it soon. Well, I'm not going to listen to what he has to say here in this little thing, because I think I read for myself what he had to say. What he had to say was a very disparaging bit about NPR. What I want to look at is what NPR's response was to this. And here we go. NPR has formally punished Early Berliner for a senior editor who publicly argued a week ago that the network had lost America's trust by approaching news stories with a rigidly progressive mindset. Berliner's 5-day suspension without pay began last Friday and has not been previously reported. No shit. Yet the public radio network is grappling in other ways from the fallout of his essay on the free press. It angered many of his colleagues, led NPR leaders to announce monthly internal reviews of the network's coverage, and gave fresh ammunition to conservative and partisan Republican critics of NPR, including former President Donald Trump. What does this have to, this is just absolute BS right here. Oh, now we're being criticized because we are doing internal reviews, and it gave fresh ammunition to conservatives that don't like us. No, we didn't need any fresh ammunition. We knew how you guys were in the first place. Conservative activist Christopher Rufo is among those now targeting NPR's new chief executive, Catherine Maher, for messages she posted to social media years before joining the network. Among those posts include a 2020 tweet Trump called racist. Well, what is it? I wonder what that tweet is. What was the tweet that she posted? Damn it. I'm really curious. Huh. Well, that got deleted. That was weird. Messages. Hey, Sally sent a link yesterday. Oh, hope she's doing well. That's so weird, because I just hit open link in new tab, opened it, and Catherine Maher said, "What is that deranged racist sociopath raging about today? I truly do not understand." Wow, that's what she said. I truly do not understand. So crazy. Yeah, that's pretty crappy. The other that appeared to minimize rioting during social justice protests that year. Okay. Maher took the job at NPR last month, her first at a news organization. In a statement Monday about the messages she posted, Maher praised the integrity of NPR's journalists and underscored the independence of their journaling reporting. In America, everyone is entitled to free speech as a private citizen, she said. What matters is NPR's work and my commitment as its CEO, public service, editorial independence, and the mission to serve all of the American public. NPR is independent, beholden to no party, and without commercial interests. The network noted that the CEO is not involved in editorial decisions. Well, it appears that they are. Good morning, humans. Good to see you, Farrell. I hope you're doing well. The former formatting of television was enough to assault my senses. Even before the program, all of the rapid fire changes are enough to give you Good Morning, Farrell. Good morning, Farrell. See, everyone's loving you, Farrell. Good to see you. Let's make up our own news. We can do a better job than those dudes anyway. Absolutely. Hey, hey. In an interview with me later on Monday, Berliner said that the social media post demonstrated Maurer was all but incapable of being the person best poised to direct the organization. We're looking for a leader right now who's going to be unifying and bringing more people into the tent and have a broader perspective on sort of what America's all about. And this seems to be the opposite of that. Oh man, it feels so good. Nothing like a back scratch early in the morning. I'm telling you, it's like the best. Almost as good as sex, but not quite. He said that he tried repeatedly to make his concern over NPR's coverage known to the news leaders and to Maurer's predecessor as chief executive before publishing his essay. Berliner has singled out coverage of several issues dominating the 2020s for criticism, including this trans right, the Israel-Hamas war, and Kuf. Berliner says he sees the same problems at other news organizations, but argues NPR, as a mission-driven institution, has a greater obligation to fairness. She's got a weird look about her, like weird. He says, I love NPR and feel it's a national trust. Berliner says, we have great journalists here. If they shed their opinions and did the great journalism they're capable of, this would be a much more interesting and fulfilling organization for our listeners. Well, of course, final warning, the circumstances surrounding the interview were singular. Berliner provided me with a copy of the formal rebuke to review. NPR did not confirm or comment upon his suspension for this article. In presenting Berliner's suspension Thursday afternoon, the organization told the editor he had failed to secure its approval for outside work for other news outlets. As it required of NPR journalists. It's called the letter of final warning, saying Berliner would be fired if he violated NPR's policy again. Berliner is a dues-paying member of NPR's newsroom union, but says he's not appealing the punishment. The Free Press is a site that's become a haven for journalists who believe that mainstream media outlets have become too liberal. In addition to his essay, Berliner appeared in an episode of its podcast, Honestly, with Barry Weiss. A few hours after the essay appeared online, NPR chief business editor Pawali Gagoi reminded Berliner of the requirement that he secure approval before appearing in outside press, according to a copy of the note provided by Berliner. In its formal rebuke, NPR did not cite Berliner's appearance on Chris Cuomo's News Nation program last Tuesday night, for which NPR gave him the green light. NPR's chief communications officer told Berliner to focus on his own experience and not share proprietary information. The NPR letter also did not cite his remarks to the New York Times, which ran its article mid-afternoon Thursday, shortly before the reprimand was sent. Berliner says he did not seek approval before talking with the Times. Berliner did not get permission from NPR to speak with me for this story, but that he was not worried about the consequences. Talking to an NPR journalist and being fired for what would be extraordinary, I think. Berliner is of NPR's business desk, as am I, and he has helped to edit many of my stories. He has no involvement in the preparation of this article and did not see it before it was posted publicly. In rebuking Berliner, NPR said he had also publicly released proprietary information about audience demographics, which it considers confidential. He said these figures were essentially marketing material. If they had been really good, they probably would have distributed them and sent them out to the world. Well, now there's fears of anger and betrayal inside the newsroom. His essay and subsequent public remarks stirred up deep anger and dismay within NPR. Colleagues contend Berliner has cherry-picked examples to fit his arguments and challenge the accuracy of his accounts. They also note he did not seek comment from the journalist involved in the work he cited. Well, why would he? Doesn't need to. The Morning Edition host Michael Martin told me some colleagues at the network share Berliner's concerns that coverage is frequently presented through an ideological and idealistic prism that can alienate listeners. The way to address this is through training and mentorship, says Martin, herself a veteran of nearly 2 decades at the network, who has also reported for Wall Street Journal and ABC News. This is not by blowing the place up, by trashing your colleagues in full view of people who don't really care about it anyway. Well, that's the thing. He already said what could be fixed, and you assholes didn't listen. He said it multiple times. It's amazing. If you assholes at NPR actually had listened to him, you might have figured out that, geez Louise, this guy's onto something. But no, it's your diversity, equity, inclusion bullshit that gets stuffed down people's throats that makes them turn away. I mean, here's a really, really, really good example. Is during all of the crap with your George Floyd stuff, my neighbor, she got very upset, and she wanted to, she basically started rebuking her children and yelling at them and flipping out on them. You know why? Because she was told by NPR that she had a systematic racism in through her because she is white, and she felt her duty in life to cleanse her of her sins of being white was to make her children feel every bit as responsible for being white also. Yeah. We won't mention how well that turned out for that family. It's pretty crappy because of people like NPR that you've got this unbiased white. And then she wanted to yell at me one day. I'm just like, well, you're so privileged. I was like, listen, sweetheart, I came from trailer park trash. There ain't nothing privileged about my ass. I busted my ass to get where I am today, and you can blow me for all I care. Didn't appreciate her too much. Of course, she didn't like me too much, but I don't care. I didn't have time for her bullshit. Because, well, I didn't feel the need to put a sign up in my yard that said I stand with idiots. Well, at least I haven't got removed from YouTube yet. The way to address that is through training and mentorship. It's not by blowing the place up. Oh, whatever. Several NPR journalists told me they're no longer willing to work with Berliner as they no longer have confidence that he will keep private their internal musings about stories as they work through coverage. He never burned anybody down. He never yelled at anybody. He never accused a single person. He accused the whole news station of being full of shit. Newsrooms run on trust, NPR political correspondent Danielle Kurtzblitten tweeted last week, without mentioning Berliner by name. If you violate everyone's trust by going to another outlet and shitting on your colleagues while doing a bad job journalistically, for that matter, I don't know how you do your job now. Berliner rejected that critique, saying nothing in his essay or subsequent remarks betraying private conversation or arguments about coverage. Other newsrooms are also grappling with questions over news judgment and confidentiality. On Monday, New York Times executive editor Joseph Kahn announced to his staff that the newspaper's inquiry into who leaked the internal dissent over a planned episode of its podcast, The Daily, to another news outlet proved inconclusive. The episode was to focus on a December report on the use of essay as part of the Hamas attack on Israel in October. Wow. Audio staffers aired doubts over how well the reporting stood up to scrutiny. Yeah. We work together with trust and collegiality every day on everything we produce, and I have every expectation that this incident will prove to be a singular exception to an important rule, Khan wrote to Times staffers. No, because whenever your newsroom, NPR sucks. Goat nads. I got a special place for that person. Love you and that positive attitude. JK, good morning to both of you. Starzy, what's a newspaper? Oh, you mean those things you put in a dog kennel for them to crap on? As horrible and rotten these nights of multimedia outlets have, they are giving us little tidbits of proof over the years for which we can be grateful, even if we're not watching. And I agree. There are little tidbits of news that might be in there. These news outlets, it's not like they're completely bad yet, but you start to question the reporting, especially whenever you see it slanted one way or the other, and they're not showing both sides of the story. Whenever they talk about all that's going on in Ukraine and Russia, they have it slanted towards one side, obviously slanted towards one side. Whenever they talk about Israel and Hamas, they have it slanted definitely towards one side. When they talk about Iran and Israel, they have it slanted to one side. When they talk about the border, they have it slanted to one side. When they talk about the mostly peaceful but fiery protests, they have it slanted to one side. When they talk about Trump, they have it slanted to one side. When they talk about Biden, they have it slanted to one side. And it's very obvious whenever you look at it. It's very obvious. It's just like they're making Biden to be as some genius out there that's saving the planet, when everything points at him being a complete, fuckwad and not being able to figure out left shoe from right shoe. But that's not how they show it. So we end up as a bunch of lemmings just following what the latest story happens to be and hoping that we can find out more information. And the people that actually do have information and try to report it, well, they get shut down really quick. Think about January 6th. A day that will live in infamy forever. That's how it goes. Well, of course, at NPR, some of Berliner's colleagues have weighed in online against his claim that the network is foisted on DEI, its workforce, without a commitment to diversity of viewpoint. Recently retired Chief Executive Don Lansing has referred to this pursuit of diversity with NPR's workforce as its North Star, a moral imperative of business strategy. In his essay, Berliner tagged the strategy as a failure, citing the drop in NPR's broadcast audiences and its struggle to attract more black. Oh, he actually used the word Latino listeners in particular. Why? During most of my tenure here, an open-minded and curious culture prevailed. We were nerdy but not knee-jerk activists or scolding, Berliner writes. In recent years, however, that has changed. Berliner writes for NPR, which purports to consider all things. It's devastating, both for its journalism and its business model. NPR investigative reporter Sherry Isner wrote on a comment for this story, "Minorities do not think the same, do not report the same. Good reporters and editors should know that by now. It's embarrassing to me as a reporter at NPR that senior editors are missing that point in 2024. I don't know. That's not what he said. He said that your business model is horrible. It's become activist. Some colleagues drafted a letter tomorrow at NPR's chief news executive Edith Chapman seeking greater clarity on NPR standards for its coverage and its behavior for its journalists, clearly pointed at Berliner. Oh yeah, because a letter freaking works really every time a bunch of people get together just to dogpile on one person that doesn't like the way they're running shit. Of course, in this article, he doesn't address any of the concerns that Berliner has. He addresses not a single one of them. He just confirms it. That's all. But of course, this is always a common word. Plan for healthy discussion. You know what healthy discussion is? Shut the fuck up. That's a healthy discussion. On Friday, CEO Maurer stood up for the network's mission and the journalism, taking issue with Berliner's critique, though never mentioning him by name. Of course, we don't want to have you with his name in your mouth. Among her chief issues, she said, well, if she never mentioned him by name, then how can she say Berliner's essay? Hmm. Among her chief issues, she said his essay offered a criticism of our people on a basis of who we are. That's not what he did. Berliner took great exception to that, saying she denigrated him. He said that he supported diversifying NPR's workforce to look more like the. That's not what he said. That is not what he said. That is not what he supported. What he said is he wanted the political portion of it to look more like what the U.S. population is at large. Not talking about race, but they're going to make it about race. She did not address that in a subsequent private exchange he shared with me for this story. NPR spokesman declined to further comment. Late Monday afternoon, Chapin announced to the newsroom that executive editor Eva Rodriguez would lead monthly meetings to review coverage. Okay, what does this have to do with it? Among questions we'll ask ourselves each month, did we capture the diversity of this country? Racial, ethical, religious, economic, political, geographic, etc., 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 etc. You notice that they leave out the stuff that they're most concerned with. Most likely, this is the one. This is the second one. And of course, they're leaving out their sexual orientation, their gender-specific names, and all of its complexity in a way that helped listeners and readers recognize themselves in their communities. Chapin wrote in the memo, did we offer coverage that helped them understand, even if it's just a bit better, those neighbors with whom they share little in common? I don't know. I share a lot in common with my neighbors, usually a street, part of our yards, our trees. But other than that, I don't give two shits about what my neighbor does. I'll help them out if they're in need, but other than that, I just stay away. Berliner said he welcomed the announcement, but would withhold judgment until those meetings played out. In a text for this story, Chapin said such sessions had been discussed since Lansing unified the news and programming divisions under her acting leadership last year. Now seemed the time to deliver if we were going to do it, Chapin said. Healthy discussion is something we need more of. Disclosure, the story is reported written by NPR and media correspondent David Folkenflick and edited by So basically, NPR said absolutely freaking nothing. NPR had nothing to say. Nothing worthwhile. That's pretty common with NPR. They just cannot get their heads out of their ass. But hey, that's what you get. You know, just sort of like this person right here. Columbia's president rebukes claims she has allowed the university to become a hotbed of anti-Semitism. Columbia University president took a firm stance against anti-Semitism in a congressional hearing on Wednesday, but she faced bruising criticism from Republicans who say her actions haven't supported her words, especially when it comes to disciplining faculty and students accused of bias. So sick of hearing that word. Nemak Shafik's visit to Capitol Hill was a reprise of a December hearing that led to the resignation of presidents at Harvard and the University of Pennsylvania. It's part of a Republican campaign to investigate anti-Semitism at America's most prestigious universities since Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel. After the other Ivy League presidents' equivocation led to weeks of backlash, Shafik, whatever, focused her message on fighting anti-Semitism rather than protecting free speech. On key questions, she took a more decisive stance than her Ivy League colleagues who gave lawyerly answers when asked if calls for the genocide of the Jews would violate campus policies. Asked the same question, Shafik and three other Colombian leaders responded definitively yes, but Shafik hedged on whether certain phrases invoked by some supporters of the Palestinians rise to the harassment. From the river to the sea, Palestinians will be free, or long live Intifada or anti-Semitic, is what she said. I hear them as such. People don't. Some people don't. McLean posed the same questions to David Schitzer, who leads an anti-Semitic task force at Columbia. He said those phrases are anti-Semitic. Whatever. It was a shaky moment for the Ivy League president, who otherwise dodged the gotcha questions that turned the previous hearing into a frenzy for Republicans who cast elite schools as hotbeds of hatred towards the Jews. Unlike in December, much of the questioning on Wednesday focused on Columbia's handling of faculty who were accused of the anti-Semitism, given the protections offered by the university tenure disciplining faculty, and the thorny question for university whose professors are weighing in on the Israeli-Hamas war. Shafshik was hammered by the issue by Representative Elise Stefanik, a New York Republican and a driving force behind these hearings. Stefanik asked about the Mohammed Abudabu, whatever, a visiting Arab studies professor who expresses support for Hamas on social media after the October 7th. See, they can't even call it the attack on Israel. You know, this did more damage to people and the trust between two countries than, January 6th. Yet they just call it the media after October 7th. This little thing that happened over here. No, why don't you say it? After Hamas hid behind civilians and fired rockets into Israel, killing civilians. Shafik said she shared Stefanik's repugnance over their comments, adding that he had been terminated. He is grading his students' papers and will never teach at Columbia again. Mr. Abu is not grading papers right now, Stefanik later countered. She said she heard Abu attended a pro-Palestinian demonstration at Columbia Wednesday morning in apparent violation of the school's new rules limiting protests to certain hours and location. Shafshik was also grilled over Columbia's handling of Joseph Mossad, professor of modern Arab politics, accusing of calling the October 7 attacks awesome, astonishing, astounding, and incredible. Yeah. Shafik said Mossad had been reprimanded and removed as chair of an academic review committee. Yeah, that's not what you do with people like that. You have them completely removed from university and get them far away from your children. Plus, he admired Bill Cosby's taste at Shelby's. That's so funny. Is that the same guy that took NPR to court for violating the arbitration clause to his contract for employment over his podcast? Mm-hmm. There are some very complex issues around tenure. Really? So you're saying that a tenured professor can basically get away with celebrating murder, genocide? It's good to know. If that's where your tenure lies, well, damn, I need to get a job teaching your children and corrupting their minds. How would that feel? I bet you'd love me to corrupt that mind. In a comment to the Associated Press, or the AP, Mossad denied being reprimanded. He said members of Congress distorted his comments, and he disputed praising the killings of Jews. Mossad said he was not removed as chair for the Academic Review Committee and that his term ends in the coming weeks. Columbia professor Marco Agora, leader of the college chapter of the American Association of University Presidents, expressed dismay at how much Shafshik conceded to Republicans on faculty discipline. The university has processes, and those processes are intended to protect academic freedom. He said faculty whose speech is not necessarily what I would say myself, they have the right to that speech. Sure. The only problem is if I said half that shit that they say in the opposite direction on any platform, I would be fired, rebuked, disparaged, destroyed, eliminated, removed from polite society, as some might say. Complaints of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, which is a new game that we play using scarves and knuckle dragging bracelets. We have been on the rise at the New York campus of 35,000 students, prompting the school to adopt new limits on demonstrations. Protests can be held only on weekdays at certain times and locations with advance notice to school officials. Some civil rights groups, students, and faculty say the policy curbs free expression, but Shafschick cited as evidence that the school is serious about protecting students, saying 15 students have been suspended and 6 are on probation for breaches. I promise you, from the message I'm hearing from students, they're getting the messages that violations will have consequences, as she said. Revision classes with one presented by Republicans in Congress and some Jewish students who say anti-Semitism goes unchecked at Columbia, citing a Jewish student who was beaten on campus while putting up posters of Israeli hostages and protesters who chanted the phrases that some consider call for the genocide of the Jews. The problem is, action on campus doesn't match your rhetoric today, said Aaron Bean, a Florida Republican. Your students, their message is quite different. Their message is one of fear. Some Columbia students who support Palestinians were frustrated they were not allowed into the hearing. This is not an honest conversation that we're having today in this committee, she said Representative Halan Omar, a Democrat from Minnesota who is Muslim, after speaking with the students. Oh, is she Muslim now after speaking with the students, or was she Muslim before? Was this before or after she had sex? Oh, it must have been after she had, sex with her brother. In December, hearing featured the Harvard and Penn presidents, as well as the leader of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. During heated questioning, Stefanik asked them whether calling for the genocide of Jews would violate each university's code of conduct. Liz Magill, the president of Penn, and Claudia Gay, the then president of Harvard, both said it would depend on the situation. MIT President Sally Kornbluth said she had not heard of anyone calling for the genocide of Jews on campus because she doesn't listen, and that speech targeted at individuals not making public statements would be considered harassment. Almost immediately, the careful responses from the university presidents drew criticism from donors, alumni, and politicians. Magill soon resigned after the hearing, and Gay stepped down in January following the accusations of plagiarism. Yeah, that's where we're at. Academic freedom, try being one professor who calls out Marxism for the pearl BS it is, and see what happens. It's discriminations. Yes, this is the kind of attitude that these folks have, and people think are absolutely losing. They have lost their mind. Then he would sit there with the toothpick looking afterwards, sitting at the table, and ask my mother, so what's for dinner? Oh, what did you say? Your dad would make a huge production breakfasts on the weekend. He would go to the bakery and the deli and come home with all kinds of stuff. And then he would sit there with a toothpick, looking afterwards, sitting at the table, and ask my mother, so what's for dinner? Oh, yeah. Yeah. We are the crowns of creation, but we have nowhere to go. Occupy the Knights of Malta. But we're getting here towards something I saw that was pretty interesting. Ford recalls 456,000 Bronco Sport Maverick cars due to loss of drive power risk. Ford is recalling more than 456,000 cars due to battery detection issues that can result in loss of drive power, increasing crash risks. The recall covers 403,000 from 21 to 24 Bronco Sports, as well as 53,000 model year 22 to 23 Mavericks, and that's in a recall report. To remedy the issue, dealers will recalibrate the impacted vehicle's body and powertrain control modules at no cost. Well, no shit. That's what you're supposed to do in a recall. The notification letters are set to be mailed out on May 13th. The software update is not available yet. Well, wasn't that wonderful? So take your cars into Ford now. Now, here's the thing. In a situation like this, what you do is you take your Ford Bronco or whatever, you you take it in there and you force them to give you a rental car for the time that you're going to be out of a vehicle at no cost to you. That's what you do. And don't back down from it. And if they back down from it, make it clear that you won't be shopping with Ford again. They tend to change their attitude really damn quick. Because whenever they don't have a software update available, they need to bend over backwards to get your shit straight, especially if it could cause an accident. Mm-hmm. The Associated Press Wednesday, but it should arrive by later in the second quarter. In a statement, the spokesperson added that, okay, here you go. This right here is what you have them quote to them. Safety is a top priority, and we're taking proactive measures to address this issue promptly and effectively. And you say, I need to bring in my Ford Bronco or your Maverick or whatever bullshit car that Ford is making now that has electrical issues and body control panel issues, and you need to take those vehicles in immediately to your dealer. Sit down with them and say, you need to provide me with a working vehicle, because as your spokesperson said, safety is a top priority and we're taking proactive measures to address this issue. And if you can't handle this, I need to speak to someone higher up. And you keep working your way up that chain until they give you a vehicle, because the last thing you want to do is have little Timmy sitting in the back seat and he's munching on, his pacifier. Whenever everything stops working in your vehicle, you're not able to turn it and you smash into a wall, deleting you, your child, little Timmy, and the puppy dog Maggie, or whatever little cat you have crawling around in the back seat. That's the last thing you need happening. So make sure to take these vehicles in and don't take no for an answer from them. Make sure that you get your vehicle taken care of, because, as they said, safety is a top priority. And, bring your little kid there and say, hey, look, little Timmy, you want little Timmy to die? Maybe I'll call my local newspaper, because apparently this dealership is not wanting anything to do with safety. You get enough people showing up in there, they will definitely change their tune quite damn rapidly. Because if they're saying safety is their top priority and they act like this, it is never a top priority. Don't play with them. Don't tolerate their bullshit, and get yourself a rental vehicle at their cost. As of February 8th, the NHSTA recall report notes Ford was not aware of any injuries tied to the issue. Doesn't matter. There's an issue. But the Dearborn, Michigan-based company noted that 917 related warranty reports, 11 field reports, and 54 customer complaints. There were also 2 property damage claims and 3 unverified fire reports. This isn't the only recall impacting Bronco sports owners. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said last week that it was investigating the remedy Ford had proposed after the recall of nearly 43,000 select escapes and everything, which gasoline can leak from the fuel injectors onto hot engine surfaces, increasing the risk of fires. And the NHTSA did not said remedy did not include repairing the fuel leaks. Isn't that beautiful? The only reason I say this is because I used to work for Honda. I used to do a lot of recalls, especially airbag recalls. A lot of them. On a daily basis, whenever I wasn't ripping engines out, I might do anywhere between 5 and 15 airbag recalls in a day. I got pretty good at them. I could do most of those airbag recalls in about, less than 3 minutes. Yeah. And there was also a couple of recalls that they had with controllers for the airbags and crap like that we would do. Some of them are more of a pain in the ass than others, but I got pretty good at them. Other guys got good at them also. We were doing, our dealership, because we were centrally located in the metro Atlanta area. We would go through, hundreds a day. Like I wasn't the only one that was doing them. Yeah. It was a safety recall where the possibility of the airbag randomly exploding and putting shrapnel into your face is basically what it boiled down to. The older the airbag, the deadlier it is. Yeah. Um, all they did is basically put plastic around it, so now you get hit by plastic shrapnel. Also, I mean, I don't know how it really fixed it, but according to them, I guess it fixed whatever issue it was with the airbags, and they won't cause as much damage or something like that. Um, but yeah, it was an airbag recall, not only the driver's side but the passenger side, and then there was also a another controller that went on like the Odysseys and Pilots, yeah, and some of the Civics, Accords, and yeah, pretty much nothing was immune from them. Those airbag recalls covered everything, and what our dealership would do is basically if we couldn't get it taken care of that day because we were overloaded with airbag recalls, they would get a rental for the customer, and then whenever their vehicle was done, if they didn't return the rental, then they would start getting charged for it per day. It wasn't like a be all end all, but it was safety was priority for those airbag recalls. So like I said, if there's a serious safety recall going on with the vehicle, you need to take that thing in, get it taken care of immediately. Don't sit there and go, oh well, I'll get to it next week. No, get it done as soon as possible, just for your safety and the safety of little Timmy. Oh, sorry. What the chemicals used to explode the bag get more expensive as they age? Oh, more explosive? A lot of things get more explosive as they age. Just saying. Oh my, oh my. So we've got somebody mentioned this earlier, and I'll mention it to all you guys right here. Man charged in transport of Masters Golf Tournament memorabilia taken from Augusta National. Man has been charged in federal court in Illinois in the transport of millions of dollars worth of Masters Golf Tournament merchandise and memorabilia stolen from Augusta's National Golf Club in Georgia. The document filed Tuesday in U.S. District Court in the Northern District of Illinois accuses Richard Golopsky of transporting the items across lines to Tampa, Florida, knowing the same had been stolen, converted, and taken by fraud. They were taken from the golf club and other locations beginning in 2009 through 2022. According to the government, upon conviction, Golopsky would have to forfeit any property and cash attained from the proceeds, trace the stolen items. The message was also left Wednesday seeking comment. The spokesperson for U.S. Attorney's Office said he did not have any information on why the case was filed in Illinois. Augusta National is the home of the legendary Masters Golf Tournament, in which it was held over the weekend and won by Scotty Scheffler. Congratulations, Scotty Scheffler. For many fans, the chance to buy exclusive merchandise that's not officially sold online is a key part of the Masters experience in recent years. Gnome Garden statues that debuted in 2016 have been a hot ticket item. Even logo etched cups, once emptied of beer or other drinks, are prized souvenir. Fans pile up through the tournament. In 2017, Georgia company that owns the golf club at Masters Golf Tournament sued to stop golf memorabilia company from auctioning off a Masters champion green jacket and other items says were never supposed to have left the club's grounds. Yeah. Augusta filed a lawsuit against that company to also two member green jackets, as well as silverware and a belt buckle bearing Augusta's national map and flag logo. So yeah, they were not liking that. Sounds like he may golf a little bit. Our retired electrical engineer was 101st Airborne, and his first job after he got out was Ford mechanic. He got all the overtime he needed fixing Ford Pintos. Yeah. And that fix on a Ford Pinto was they just had to shorten the bolt. That was the fix. See, the problem is whenever they removed that bolt, it made the car weigh less than 2,000 pounds. Because their whole thing was they wanted a Ford Pinto $2,000 for a 2,000-pound car. That's how much the Ford Pinto was supposed to weigh. It was 2,000 pounds. So there was a big fight to make that stop. Of course, they sort of washed that away. I remember as a kid hearing about that. I thought it was pretty damn funny. Let's see what we have here. There was another one that was pretty cool. I just wanted to see what it was. Oh, we'll get to that one here shortly. Nope. Is it this one? Okay. We'll get to that. Nope. No, remove that one. Don't care. Nope. Not that one. Oh, they changed this story. All right. Prosecutors, South Carolina. Nope. Wrong one. Oh, they changed this one too. And nope. They changed that one. Man, they've changed a lot of these stories since they were written. All right, here we go. 9 are facing charges of what police say in Canada is the biggest gold theft in the country's history. Police said 9 people are facing charges of what authorities are calling the biggest gold theft in Canadian history from Toronto's Pearson International Airport a year ago. Peel Regional Police said Wednesday that 6,600 gold bars worth more than 20 million Canadian dollars or 14.5 million and Canadian 2.5 million, 1.8 million in foreign currencies were stolen. The gold was melted down and used to purchase illegal firearms, police said. Okay. Those charged included an Air Canada warehouse employee and former Air Canada manager who gave police a tour of a cargo facility after the theft. A jewelry store owner is also charged. This story is a sensational one, which probably we jokingly say belongs in a Netflix series. Peel said the gold bars weighing 419 kilograms or 923 pounds in foreign currency ordered from a refinery in Zurich, Switzerland were transported in a haul off of an Air Canada flight in April of 17th last year. He said on late afternoon, a truck driver arrived at the cargo warehouse with a fraudulent bill that was provided to an airline warehouse attendant. Mavity said the bill for seafood was picked up the day before was used to pick up the gold. The duplicate bill was printed off the Air Canada warehouse. They needed people with Air Canada to facilitate this theft. Said the truck, police say, was used in the theft. Mavity said in front of the truck, police say he was used in the theft. Mavity said police are searching for the Air Canada manager who gave police a tour of the facility in the days after the theft. He said that manager left his job last summer and said he had no idea of where he is. Smart man. Mavity said some of the suspects were known to police and some were not. He said they seized 6 crudely made bracelets of gold. I don't think I ever imagined they would have to deal with the largest gold heist in Canadian history. It's almost out of Ocean's 11 movie or CSI. Air Canada employee Parmal Shuti, 54, Ontario jewelry owner Ali Raza, 37, from Toronto, Amit Jalota, 40, Oakville, Ontario resident Ahmad from Georgetown, Ontario, and Prosda, I'm not even going to try to say their names, 35, from Brampton, are among those that have been arrested. Mavity said they have been released on bail conditions and will be in court at a later date. Mavity said the truck driver that allegedly picked up the gold, a 25-year-old from Brampton, is currently in custody in the U.S. on firearms and trafficking-related charges. Police are searching for former Air Canada manager Shireen Preet Panasiar, 31, from Brampton, as well as Arctique. Jesus Christ, you guys have the most freaking complex names. Why do Canadians have horrible names like this? Sorry. US ATF special agents, blah, blah. Don't care. Brinks failed to note the value of the haul on the way bill. Oh, that was a stupid idea. In fraudulent court filings that claim breach of contract, millions of dollars in damages. Brinks said an unidentified individual gained access to the cargo warehouse, presented false way bill. Statement of the claim says the staff then handed over 400 kilograms of gold in a form of 24 bars plus $2 million in cash to the thief, who promptly absconded with the cargo. Well, there you go. I'm proud to say we successfully put an international gun trafficking operation out of business. We kept 65 firearms off the street. 65 firearms, and you're calling this gun trafficking? Dude, if you consider 65 guns trafficking, good Lord Almighty. What are they been doing with Ukraine? Frick me. Jeez. We believe they melted down the gold with the profits they got from the gold they used to purchase illegal firearms. No, they purchased legal firearms illegally, is what they did. Gold has increased by price a lot lately. Something's up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It does happen. It does happen. Oh, I was going to cover that, but not going to now because they changed the story. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Get rid of that. Hide this real quick. Let's see. Well, somebody's going to be very happy. Somebody by the name of the expert's going to be very happy with this one right here. Look at this. Seinfeld's upcoming Netflix movie about Pop-Tarts is to be featured in an IndyCar race at Long Beach. Man, check that out. So his Netflix comedy will be featured during this week's IndyCar race at Long Beach as rookie Linus Linguist will drive a car painted to look like a Pop-Tart in recognition of the movie Unfrosted. Racing Chip Ganassi's racing number 8 will be painted in the texture of an unfrosted Pop-Tart along with images of Seinfeld and some of the movie cast members. A partnership, which is collaboration with Gasney sponsor American Legion, is promoting the May 3rd film release. The movie remarks the directorial debut for the comedian. Seinfeld claimed all the way back in 2018 they'd been thinking about an invention of the Pop-Tart movie. Imagine the drunk on a sugar-powered Kellogg's cultural cereal of the mid-60s in Battle Creek, Michigan. That's the vibe I could work with. Making a movie about Pop-Tarts has led so many wonderful, unexpected surprises, and as a car guy, honestly, cannot believe our film's logo will be on IndyCar entry this weekend. I'm grateful to Chip Ganassi Racing for making this happen. I'm honored to be affiliated with the American Legion and the work they do to support American veterans. The American Legion signed off on the promotion as part of Be the One mission that aims to save the lives of veterans by raising awareness, destigmatizing the mental health treatment, and educating the veterans, service members, and their loved ones about what to do when a person appears to be at risk of suicide. Comedy is often used as a way to alleviate the symptoms that can lead to thoughts of suicide. The ability for the American Legion to partner with Jerry Seinfeld's Unfrosted and Netflix is an incredible opportunity to expose our organization and the work we do for veterans to an entirely new audience with the entertainment community and the general public that are fans of Jerry Seinfeld and in his comedy, said Dean Kessel. We know humor can be therapeutic for those battling with mental health issues. Partnering with the Unfrosted Project ties nicely to our Be the One platform and our efforts to destigmatize veterans who are seeking help and our prevention of veteran suicide. Cheers. Thank you, American Legion. Appreciate you. Speaking of needing some mental health issues, I think it's time for some more coffee. What do you guys think? You ready to go grab some more? Well, that's what's going to happen. I'm going to grab some more coffee. Then I've got about another 15 minutes. I've got a couple of stories that I wanted to cover that I thought would be pretty damn interesting. So bear with me. I will make sure to get some more coffee. Here we go. Let's do this. Welcome back. So we got this one right here that I thought was pretty interesting. Participant studio behind Spotlight and Inconvenient Truth shutters after 20 years. Go figure. So, participant and activist film and studio that has financed Oscar winners like Spotlight and socially conscious documentaries like Food Incorporated and Waiting for Superman is closing its doors after 20 years. Why? Because it doesn't pay to be a shit company. So they did Best Picture for Spotlight, Green Book, Best Documentary for An Inconvenient Truth, and American Factory's Best International Feature for Roma. Participants behind like Contagion, Good Luck, and Lincoln, and Judas, The Black Messiah, and limited series When They See Us, and also a sequel to their documentary Food Inc., which rolled out this month. Their films have made over $3.3 billion at the global box office, but the company had a double bottom line in which impact was measured in addition to profit. Skoll stepped back from his day-to-day operations of the company years ago. Veteran film executive David Lin has been CEO participant since 2015, during which they had their Green Book and Roma successes. I found participant with the mission of creating world-class content that inspires positive social change, prioritizing impact alongside commercial sustainability. Skoll wrote, since then, the entertainment industry has seen revolutionary changes in how content is created, distributed, and consumed. Skoll added, their legacy will live on through our people, our stories, and all who are inspired by them. But go figure, after 20 years, you couldn't even keep your freaking doors open. And I thought that was pretty damn funny. Not as funny as this. Sorry, that was a bad lead into this story. It seems that they kept their heads together and they shared a brain. Conjoined twins Laura and Joy Chappelle, who pursued separate careers, interests. That's really difficult. Yes, I'm typing. No, I'm handwriting. I don't know. This seems weird. Who pursued separate careers, interests, and relationships during their, but they shared one mind, one body, one soul. They died this month in Pennsylvania, according to officials. They were 62. So I'm wondering how they do this. Is it an extra large casket, or do they just like have like a heart-shaped casket that I'm sorry. This is too funny. I'm having too much fun with this one. The twins, listed by Guinness Book of World Records, is the oldest living conjoined twins. Died April 7th at the Hospital University of Pennsylvania, according to obituaries posted by Linsberger Funeral Homes of Hamburg. The cause of death was not detailed. Unfortunate for them. I'm sad to hear that. When we were born, the doctors didn't think we'd make it 30, but we proved them wrong. When they turned 50, the Philadelphia Inquirer reported George came out as what? George came out as transgender. Okay. In 2007, I feel like a woman. No, you're attached to one. Big difference. The twins were born September 18th, 1961 in West Reading, Pennsylvania, had distinct brains, but were joined at the skull. Well, okay, so they didn't think alike. They were just attached at the skull. Okay. Seems like a weird one. George, who had spina bifida and was 4 inches shorter, was wheeled around by Laurie on an adaptive wheeled stool. Despite each having to go where the other went, it was very important to both to live as independently as possible. Did they sleep in the same bed? Both graduated from public high school and took college classes. George went along for 6 years as Laurie worked at a hospital laundry. Laurie, a trophy-winning bowler, according to the obituary notice, gave up the job in 1996 so her sibling could launch a country music career. I tried to leave her, but I couldn't get her out of my head. I'm sorry. I'm tired over here. We shared the same mind, but she's attached at the hip, and I couldn't get rid of that bitch no matter how hard I tried. Yeah, picked a fine time to eat me, Lucille, with two hungry brains and another. Oh man, good Lord Almighty! I'm having too much fun. I can't get you out of my mind. When you look at me in my eyes, what do you see? I see myself, and it hurts so much deep down inside. When I pick my guitar, I can feel your breasts rubbing against me. Just, I mean, I could go all day. Oh my God. Oh. Ah. When we dance with each other, I can't get you out of my mind. Crazy. Crazy for feeling so together. I'm crazy. Crazy 'cause you're always on my mind. I had a head trauma and she felt it just the same. Well, she's a bowling champ. Like, here, grab this bowling ball and I'll punch it in it a couple of times. And you drop it in her. You hook it under her feet. Since the age of 24, they maintain their own residence and have traveled extensively. Well, I imagine so. You're shorter than me. I needed a little pick-me-up, so she slapped me in the nuts. They appeared in many documentaries and talk shows, as well as an episode of the FX medical drama Nip Tuck. The Philadelphia Inquirer reported that Lori was once engaged to be married, but that her fiance died in an automobile accident. God. I don't know. It might have been. Could you imagine her giving Redhead the brother's like, I don't want to lick the balls, not this time. No wonder he's writing country music songs. As we're driving down the road in an 18-wheeler, my dear love was giving roadhead. I was licking on the balls. She was licking on the shit. And I couldn't get her out of my head. When I went on dates, Lori said George would bring long books to read. I'm sorry. Oh my God. Oh. I'm reading a book right now. She's sitting there going, I think you're really nice. Don't mind my brother. He sits here with me. He's whispering here, shut up. Talk to him nicely. First thing he sees is my butt. Oh. Twins said in the 1997 documentary they had different bathing schedules and showered one at a time. Sheila, maybe they both liked to watch. Oh. The privacy compromise situation that you would want them to give you, Laura. You said a compromise means you don't get everything you want when you want it. I don't want his balls in my face. No, you're going to have to take it. No. Conjoined twins occur once every 50,000 to 60,000 births when identical twins from a single embryo fail to separate. About 70% are female and most are stillborn. Only a small percentage are joined at the head and nearly 3/4 joined at the chest and others at the abdomen or pelvis. Separation was deemed risky for the Chappelle twins because Lori Chappelle told the Associated Press in a 2002 interview that the twins' apartment in a high-rise seniors complex says she didn't think such an operation was necessary in any case. You don't mess with what God made, even if it means you enjoy both children for a shorter time, she said in the 1997 documentary. George also strongly ruled out the idea of separation, saying, "Why, I fix what is not broken." You're clearly broken, dude. I'm sorry. My thought would be, get me away from this bitch. Sorry. Like it, oh no. I would, especially if you're sharing a separate brain, I mean, do the removal. I'm sorry. That would be my thing. The Chappelle's twin survivors include their father and 6 siblings. 6? Jesus Christ, 6 siblings? Man, Daddy like to be doing some humping. Wonder why. Oof. The oldest ever documented were Ronnie and Donnie Galeon, who died in 2020 at the age of 68. Eng and Cheng Bunker in the 19th century Siamese twins who gained fame as a circus act lived to be 63. Wow. Amazing. This is a hostage situation. Dang, he follows me everywhere. Good morning. What did you just tune into? Oh my God. Shush, you're in 5-4 today. Yes. Who? Well, maybe it's maybe it's conjoined because I don't know. I wonder if Pornhub has videos of them. Oh my God. I hope not. Sorry. Oh. South Carolina prison supervisor took $219,000 in bribes, got 103 cell phones to inmates. This is another one I wanted to bring up because this happened where my wife was born in Columbia, South Carolina. She wasn't born in a prison, but she was born in Columbia, South Carolina. This lady was convicted early this month of 15 charges, including bribery, conspiracy, wire fraud, money laundering. She worked for the South Carolina Department of Corrections for 16 years. She was promoted to captain of Broad River Correctional Institute in 2016, which put her in charge of security and medium security Columbia Prison. Livingston worked with an inmate, 33-year-old Cheryl Reeves, to accept bribes for cell phones and other contraband accessories. They would take $1,000 to $7,000 over the smartphone cash app for money transfer program for a phone, according to federal indictment unsealed Thursday. Reeves was known as Hell Rel, and Livingston was known as Hell's Rel's Queen, federal prosecutors said. Both face up to 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine in order to pay back the money they earned illegally if convicted. Yeah, lawyers for Livingston and Reeves did not respond. Contraband cell phones have been a long-running problem. And Sterling has pushed for the General Assembly to pass a bill specifying cell phones are illegal in prisons instead of being included as a broad category of contraband, allowing for an extra year to be tacked on the sentence having a legal phone with up to 5 years for a second offense. So it's just communication devices, what they're after. Frustrating inmate calling a tech support hotline when his phone no longer working, asked the worker, "What can I do to get it turned back on?" Being told that he needed to call a corrections department hotline. Jesus. My God. Oh, Jesus. That's hilarious. That is so hilarious. First thing I heard was, can you imagine having to smell your sister's boyfriend's balls? Even has been told this discussion has gone nuts. Sorry. Sorry. Oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my. All right. All right. To some more serious stuff here. I've got just a couple more, and I'll keep them pretty short for you guys. So share this to have said Supreme Court question obstruction charges brought against January 6 rioters and Trump. This is what is happening. Well, this happened on Tuesday. Question whether federal prosecutors went too far bringing obstruction charges against hundreds of participants, but it wasn't clear how the justices would rule in the case it offered. Also could affect the prosecution of Donald Trump, who faced the same charge for efforts to overturn his election loss in 2020. Justice heard arguments over the charge. Smith has argued separately in the immunity case. And this is what they say. There have been 1,359 people charged with the offenses related to the attack on the U.S. Capitol. Restitution. This is imprisonment, community service, fine, home confinement. So what they're wanting to do is restitution 821, 760 probation, 533 are imprisoned, 531 community service, fine 219, home confinement 195. It was not clear after more than 90 minutes of arguments precisely where the court would land in Fisher's case. And we're not going to continue on with too much of this because we need to be hearing what was said, what was spoken of. Some writers have even won early release from prison while appeal is pending over concerns they might end up serving longer than they would have or should have if the Supreme Court rules against the Justice Department. They include Kevin, who threatened a black police officer with a pole attached to a Confederate battle flag as he stormed the Capitol. Most lower judges have weighed in. I read this one before, and they really haven't given too much more information on this. Actually, there's more stories than that, and we'll just hit the top of the headlines right here. News organizations urge Biden and Trump to commit to presidential debates. Go F themselves. You don't need to debate Mr. Potato Brain. Mr. Loudmouth does not need to go after Mr. Potato Brain. It's absolutely horrible that they would, put a Potato Brain in any sort of realm of being able to do anything. This one here is a story of non-citizen voting isn't an issue in federal elections, regardless of what conspiracy theories say. And of course, they'll give you information of here's why. And if they're having to report on this, then I call bullshit. Of course, here's the latest president becomes the latest leader to visit Donald Trump as allies eye a possible return. Well, no shit. And of course, like I said, Potato Brain Biden is off on details of his uncle's World War II death as he calls Trump unfit to lead the military. Of course, when he suggests Ambrose Finnegan Jr. may have fallen victim to cannibalism after his plane was shot down over New Guinea. Yes, he's an idiot. As I said, President Joe Biden on Wednesday misstated key details about his uncle's death in World War II as he honored the man's wartime service and said Donald Trump was unworthy of serving as commander-in-chief. While in Pittsburgh, Biden spoke about Second Lieutenant Ambrose J. Finnegan Jr., aiming to draw a contrast with reports that Trump, while president, has called fallen service members suckers and losers, which he did not. Finnegan, the brother of Biden's mother, got shot down in New Guinea. Biden said the president said Finnegan's body was never recovered, and there used to be a lot of cannibals in the area. Biden, who also relayed the version of the story earlier in the day after stopping by the memorial in Scranton, was off on the particulars because the missing service members does not attribute Finnegan's death to a hostile action or indicate cannibals were any factor. Yeah. We have a tradition in my family. My grandfather started Sid Biden, a toddler at the time of his uncle's death in 1944. When you visit a graveside of a family member, it's going to sound strange to you, but you say 3 Hail Marys, and that's what was doing at this here site. Referring to Trump, that man doesn't deserve to have been the commander-in-chief for my son, my uncle. Yeah. But Bo died in 2015 of brain cancer, which the president has stated he believes was linked to his son's year-long deployment in Iraq. Okay. Burn pits. That's what it caused. Oh, I'm sorry. Good morning, Tammy. All good, my friend. Number 63. Biden is scared, so he got people all over just trying to bury him or prevent him from campaigning. Yes. Okay, I guess the answer to my question is no. I'm sorry. He's got people all over just trying to bury him and prevent him from campaigning. Yeah. Just try to bury anybody. It's crazy. Is this like the Folgers commercials? Get off your... Damn, shame on you. Shame on you. Yeah, that one I'm not going to cover. And of course, like I said, dubious claims about voting flyers at migrant camp shows how the border is inflaming U.S. politics. And of course, they said that you don't have to worry about this because there's not going to be any sort of, immigrants that are going to be doing anything. McAllen, Texas, a humanitarian organization in northeastern Mexico, said it did not create the flyers urging migrants to vote for President Joe Biden that were filmed at its shelter in a viral video that sparked a firestorm of conservative outrage this week. Non-citizens vote gained momentum after its online post displayed Spanish-language flyers instructing migrants to vote illegally for Biden once they arrived in the U.S. The flyers contained the logo of the organization, but it was not clear who created or posted them. Videos showed them on the interior walls of portable toilets at the center's shelter near the Mexico's border with Texas. The flyers the provenance of the flyers were still unknown Wednesday. They contained errors in spelling and grammar and appeared to include verbatim paragraphs from the organization's English language website that were translated in Spanish using online translation software. And of course, we all know that this is just, we would never do something like that. Studies have shown the incidence is exceedingly rare. Well, exceedingly rare is not non-existent. So if they're saying if it doesn't look like anything, then it probably is nothing. That's what we're going to say. We're going to say it's nothing. There's nothing happening here. Nothing to see. Nothing going on. Everything's fine. It's beautiful. Everything is wonderful. Everything is great. Everything is special. Everything is wonderful. So. You remember the Kyle Rittenhouse, right? You remember Kyle Rittenhouse? People remember him. Well, I have a nice little thing. I'm gonna let you guys watch sort of in full, because I want to poke fun, and I can't help but poke fun at this moron. So while we talk about this particular moron here, we'll let you watch. You make up your own mind.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on this lovely afternoon. My name is Paul Prediger. Many of you know me as Gage Grosstrikes. On August 25th, 2020, Kyle Rittenhouse shot me in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Yes, he did.
Since November 2021, I've chosen to remain silent and not speak publicly regarding Kyle Rittenhouse and the events surrounding that night, preferring my anonymity and safety over revisiting a traumatic period in my life. But that silence ends today.
Oh, sure it does.
While I've simply tried to live my life and not relive those moments, Kyle Rittenhouse has taken a different path. He has used every moment to gloat and to make light of taking life. As if that were not enough, Kyle has embraced and been embraced by those who peddle hateful rhetoric, who believe in nationalism that excludes those who do not look like or think like them, and who have sought to amplify a troubling desire for violence against supposed political, cultural, and religious enemies.
Yep, that was my question, but okay.
I am not here today at Kent State to sell you a book that somebody else wrote, or a full body armor military kit that I didn't design, or a subscription to an anti-woke payment processor.
Well, and here's the thing, gross shits. You pulled a weapon on him. You pointed a pistol at him. And you realize that you didn't have the legal bills that he did. The you know how hard it's going to be for Kyle Rittenhouse to get a job because you assholes were in the middle of destroying Kenosha. You assholes were in the middle of destroying their freaking city, and he was armed, and then he was attacked by multiple people, and you're the victim. Go fuck yourself. Fucking predator.
or to sell you the lies of BLM. That speaker is across campus today, and his name is Kyle Rittenhouse.
Oh, so you had to show up there. You had to show up there to be wonderful. Yeah. One of these days to the moon. I love my adopted mother. She called me to see how I was getting to therapy and wouldn't let me walk in the rain. That's so sweet. That is so sweet. That guy looks like those people he's against would rather be considered ironic. Yeah. Well, he's not against the if all of these folks knew about this guy and what he's been charged with, the graping and the peddling. Mm-hmm.
And for an extra $37, he'll even autograph his book for you.
Damn right. The grift is strong with Rittenhouse. You know why? Because that's all he's got left. You know how hard it is going to be for him to live a normal life after the bullshit that you people have put him through. Oh, and the lies that you guys told about him is lucky. And the thing is he doesn't even he just wants to be left the hell alone. But he knows it's not going to happen. Yeah. Professional victims, exactly.
But what I am here to do is to stand with the students of Kent State who have had enough. Enough of Kyle and his rhetoric. Enough of the celebration of loss of human life. Enough of the flaw.
It was no celebration of loss of human life. Kyle Ritten kicked out of college? Yes. Yeah, they got kicked out of college and made it absolute horrible for him. How is he supposed to earn a living? How is he supposed to continue on? He's not allowed to do a hell of a lot. This guy to go to college? No, he likes him a lot younger. Like a lot younger. Like elementary school.
Odd logic that because a 17-year-old who shot me and killed 2 others.
He shot you in self-defense. Matter of fact, he didn't just shoot you. He obliterated your left arm or right arm. You know, the one that was holding a gun at him. The one that backed off like this and then proceeded to point a weapon at him. Yeah, he obliterated that arm of yours. And also, weren't you just arrested not too long ago? And if I'm not mistaken, you were arrested just not even last year. You were arrested for doing some more bullshit
With an illegally obtained firearm.
And there he is wrong again. It was not illegally obtained. It did not cross state lines. And this is the lie.
An illegally carried firearm.
Wrong again. Wrong again.
Is now somehow qualified to be a champion of gun rights.
Yep. What about the firearm that you were carrying that you were going to shoot him with? You don't mention that, do you there, gross dicks?
Enough of the sad fragility that proclaiming and
Sad fragility is this skinhead is talking about?
accepting Black Lives Matter, because they do, somehow devalues or threatens white lives.
He wasn't there because of BLM. That's not why he was there. He wasn't there to burn down the city. He was there actually protecting part of his city. Was it stupid? Absolutely. If I was him, I wouldn't have done it. But what are you going to do whenever you're a 17-year-old kid? You don't know any better. You're there thinking you're doing something good.
Enough of the lies.
Oh, then stop telling them. Gage. Gage is a girl's name too. I guess that's why he calls himself something else like dildo eater. Let's see. Did Rittenhouse obtain the firearm by holding up its owner with a firearm? I need to know how he illegally obtained a firearm. To this guy, no, because this is the lie that they want to perpetuate. This is the lie that is constantly put out there.
And the deceit that has been told by Kyle Rittenhouse for over 3 years.
Not at all.
About what actually happened in Kenosha.
That, don't believe what the video camera showed. Don't believe what they showed on the camera where you pointed a firearm at him and he blew apart your arm. And you know what? That was it. Not like he pulled the trigger again. As your arm was obliterated, he didn't turn around and point the weapon at you again. Yeah. Gage is a boy's name. I don't know. I've known a few.
August 25th, 2020.
At least they look like it.
So I ask all of those of you who are interested to join me and these student organizers behind me and in this crowd to come to the Oscar Ritchie Hall for a hopefully enlightening teaching experience.
I doubt it. What, are you going to show us how abusive you are to that woman? Your kids? That what you're going to teach us? Like, if you look into what this guy has been, yeah, there you go. Did you vaporize your bicep before or after you tried killing him?
Because students deserve an alternative to the hate and division that Kyle Rittenhouse seeks.
Nope, this is completely wrong. This is the hate and division that you are creating.
To sow on campus.
No, I think he aimed absolutely perfectly. I don't think the way that all of that went down from beginning to end and how fast all of that occurred, I'm just surprised. Just absolutely surprised.
And with that being said, I'm very thankful for my invitation here and being able to be amongst y'all.
Yeah, you're a piece of shit. Looking for his next victim.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're still a piece of shit. Now, you notice there's all this loud applause, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people. And looks like a couple of people pulled their microphones out of there. There's the applause does not match the amount of people that are there, and I'll prove what I said.
Thank you.
Yeah, you hear the applause? That's fake applause. Yeah. Yeah, because only like 2 of them were clapping. 2 or 3 of them were clapping. Yeah, fake applause, fake BS. And he's part of a group of people that if they really knew what he was about, no shadows from a crowd, of course not, because nobody's there. This is it's common bullshit that you're going to hear from these people where they come up with all of these kinds of things. And I will just to give an idea what you have going on in, for example, in New York with Trump's case. This is something I wanted to share with you right here, because this is this is what you're going to see coming from them, and then I'm gonna end the stream. But check this out. Here we go.
Can you share your opinion of the former president and why you felt that you could be unbiased?
I'm not a fan. During COVID-19, I lived with someone who was immunocompromised, and I think his handling of COVID-19 was abysmal. I have a sister who is adopted from China.
So this is how she could be unbiased?
The comments he made about China when he was running for president made her very anxious and therefore made me angry. There are policies he has supported that regard women and reproductive health that I do not agree with.
So she thinks it's okay to kill babies.
I think all of that needs to
but
be
has
addressed.
issue with
Can you share your opinion of the former
immunocompromised. So just imagine this is the face of the people that they want to have as jurors going up against Trump. Gage can shoot blanks. That's why he abuses people. Yeah. That's sort of apparatus Melendez right there. These people right here. There's the face of your jurors. Yeah. They don't like the Trump whatsoever. And of course, she was let go for other reasons, but basically for shit posting mass media and crap like that. But all I can say is,
now I gotta call somebody to come get me because my car turned into a spaceship and I don't know how to fly it. I'm not an astronaut.